Now, what is causing the shoulder injury? I have my separate take. Like I walk in the gym, Mitch, and I see a lot of the girls using their arm only. They're not using any rotation in their hips. I'm not an expert like you, but
Yeah, no, you're right. I think part of it is mechanics. I think from a strength coach, we've seen a lot of advances in science and in what we know, but the principles of strength training all remain the same.
mm-hmm.
Sadly, I think we've seen a lot more advances in biomechanics,
Mm-hmm.
but I haven't seen enough of a biomechanic change in how we're teaching our kids, especially dynamic movements. I'm not a huge fan of jumping mechanics the way it's being taught. It's still being taught the way it was in the 60s and 70s. And, same thing with shoulder mechanics. There have been some really good articles. The one that jumps off the top of my head right now is Greg D. Down in Australia, who's he's got a PT strength training background. He's another strong first kettlebell instructor. He does stuff with FMS, movement screens, and volleyball. Rhett Larson, who's worked all over the world with national teams. They seem to be staying ahead of the curve. But I think the curve's just lacking. I think we teach a lot of principles that aren't biomechanically sound, that may have made sense or according to what we knew in the 70s, I think was correct. But what we've learned now is just incorrect in terms of jumping and loading and arm swing mechanics. And yeah, I do. I see a lot of shoulder mechanics that just don't follow any biomechanic basis. So it's something that I would like to see sort of catch up to where we are.
Yeah, okay. If volleyball players are watching right now, because the youth volleyball is very huge, and you do see a lot of ice on the shoulders when you walk around the gym. If someone is watching right now, what would you tell them they can do on a weekly basis to protect their shoulder?
I mean, for younger kids, for teenagers, high school, just start crawling. Like, I know it seems silly, but bear crawls, inchworms, any type of ground-based quadruped movement is immediately going to get your core working. And it's going to get your shoulders to stabilize. That's my first thing. There's a thread the other day in Facebook that a coach put. Somebody was asking about shoulder pain or shoulder strength for a 12-year-old, and all of a sudden there's a flood of a PT gave us these exercises, the internal external rotation and the empty cans, all the what I would call classic shoulder rehab, when it's probably not even a cuff problem. I mean, those are fine, but the rotator cuff is a stabilization mechanism. It's not a prime mover. So we have to start looking at what muscles are supposed to be used for.
Mm-hmm.
So my go-to is, if somebody's having shoulder issues, one, suss out why, like figure out the mechanism that's causing it. And I think one of the big things for kids is get off your darn cell phones. I mean, if you think about it, when you are here all day long, your shoulders are rolled forward, your head's popped forward. It puts a lot of stress on the posterior side of the neck, and your shoulders close off in front, and your head's down here, which shuts off your core. So one is trying to correct, and I don't want to say correct posture, but the injury mechanism is, can joints get into position to absorb and adapt to stress? If you're not in an optimal position, then no, your body cannot absorb and adapt to those stresses. So getting kids back onto the ground will help get rid of some of those postural issues. And it's also going to fire up their CNS, their central nervous system, to start receiving a little bit more information, teach them how to stabilize a little bit more. And I mean, I think for me, that's the big thing. So crawling, and then obviously, for me, loaded heavy carries.
Just crawling. So actual.
Yeah, just crawl on the ground, whether it's a baby crawl, a bear crawl, an inchworm, a crab. mean, any of those things are going to be great for shoulder stability. And then I love doing loaded carries. Every one of my athletes, every single day, does some type of loaded carry.
What are loaded
Either.
carries?
So
Now,
loaded carry, I mean, it's
as we get going, I'm new to this technology.
Yeah.
There's a way we can have pictures on here, so I'm going to get pictures, so don't worry. So that
cool.
People can kind of see what you're talking about.
Yeah.
We'll have some visual with it, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so farmer carries, pick up 2 weights, carry them around like a farmer carrying 2 bales of hay or 2 big old milk jugs. Okay. Suitcase carries, single arm carry, great for asymmetric work, great for anti-rotation. If you have access to a kettlebell, a rack carry, which is sitting in the rack position here, and if you have the overhead position, a little bit lighter weight, but getting up overhead and carrying that weight overhead are all great for shoulder stability and shoulder strength. Usually, I mean, I found that athletes who develop shoulder pain, especially for volleyball, just don't have any type of overhead stability. In fact, they just lack shoulder stability in general. So now you're asking their shoulder to stabilize itself through impact of a volleyball, and the shoulder just can't hold up to it. So it's gonna be fine for a while, and then their shoulder is gonna give you some type of pain response that says, hey, stop whatever it is that you're doing that's aggravating the shoulder and get it fixed. It doesn't mean play through pain. It doesn't mean that, throw a little ice on it, and, ice is good. It has its place. But if you're using ice to get through a practice, I think you're missing a huge red flag that your body's sending to you.